and we're live. With that, we are live. Hi,
Well,
everybody. Hi, friends. Hi, Brooklyn. Hello. It's a very strange day, and somber day for myriad reasons. 9/11. You lived in New York for a very long time, grew up in New York. I lived in New York for a very long time. I left New York in 2001. In the early part of 2001, my now ex-husband was working at Windows on the World. My roommate was working at Windows on the World.
mm,
Um, my some of my favorite regulars at a bar I worked at called the Cub Room. If you guys know it, it's not there anymore, but it was on the corner of Prince and Sullivan. We lost quite a few people. So I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on this day and the somber, reality of this day, and also, and I'll let you definitely do that as well. But also, I just wanted to put out there. That I am not going to lionize Charlie Kirk, but I am not going to say that he deserved what happened to him either. And I am not okay with that kind of violence in any way, shape, or form. So that I just wanted to say I do actually and honestly and truly send my condolences to his wife and his children. That's just where my heart is at. So I wanted to say that.
thank you. That was very well said, Joe. And I am also kind of like a bundle of emotions today. So today, 9/11 is my son's birthday. My oldest
Oh,
son, yeah, 9/11, 1991. He's got a
wow.
crazy birthday. And
Yeah.
so when 9/11 happened, I mean, it was the craziest day. The sky was blue. It wasn't a cloud in the sky. And I had been up all night the day before, the night before, sending out emails to prospective employers. I was looking to make a jump. And at 8:30, I had one of those great big floor color TVs. Remember the old school? They were like encased in wood. It was like a
Oh, sure, of
wood
course. Yeah,
block.
yeah.
Yeah, one of those. And so I was watching, I think I was watching something, and all of a sudden my screen went Snoke. And so I'm flipping through the channels, flipping through, and the only channel that was working was channel 2, was CBS.
Mhm.
And I saw the smoldering first tower.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And apparently, CBS was the only station that had a working antenna after that one was knocked out. So, a few minutes later, saw I watched as the second plane came careening in, and I had a
Yeah.
buddy who was working at the World Trade Center, and this guy's name was John Bradshaw. And so I'm frantically, he's the only person I'm thinking about right now because I knew he was
Yeah.
working at Merrill Lynch. And so I'm calling and calling and calling. And finally at 9:30, the brother answers the phone. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, buddy. I was late to work and I got out of the subway and I saw that and I went the other direction." So, but as far as the lionization of oh, before I forget. So my oldest son, Majid, happy birthday. I
Happy
love
birthday.
you. Uh, and it was so tough for him to have his birthday on that day. We were all in tears. Our eyes were just crying for that whole thing.
Yeah.
So we had to wait until that weekend, to the Saturday, to celebrate his birthday. But now, I made sure, his birthday is always happy, even though it's on this day. But
Yeah.
lionizing Charlie Kirk, it's infuriating because yesterday we took a pause, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
watched as he was shot. I saw the video of the blood coming out of his neck. I was
Yeah.
horrified. It was like, it was one of those moments that those of us who are very publicly expressing our political opinions, we kind of live in perpetual fear of. That is a very real fear, right?
Yeah.
I saw some jackass attacked you in your replies yesterday. You always get that, but sometimes some of those replies are more unnerving than others. Um,
Mhm.
And so to see that play out in real time was terrifying. And he was
Mm.
31 years old. I get it. You know, he's a father, had the whole rest of his life. He was a shithead. He was a really terrible person, right? Very
Mhm.
racist. But at the end of the day, do we want him to be murdered for his beliefs? Absolutely not. And I say that for a KKK person or
Yeah.
even a Nazi. Um, let them suffer the consequences of their behavior and their actions in a democratic society where people can shun them or they
Yeah.
can call them to their face, and debate or whatever. But at the end of the day, violence, political violence is never, ever the answer.
No, and I've gotten a significant amount of, pushback, let's just say, from people on our side who have said, "Why do you keep calling this political violence? We don't know who the shooter was yet. We don't know what the motivation was." And I have seen everyone from Gavin Newsom to Mandami calling it political violence, and the
Yeah,
reason that I'm using that term, is because this was a political figure.
yeah,
And my default, my assumption, although it is absolutely not, definitive in any way, is that this was in some way politically motivated. It may not have been, but he was a political figure, and that is how we know him. And so political violence, those are the terms. That's a term I'm using for this as well. And because what I have gotten from the other side is threats of political violence, because
yeah,
what they have said to me and likely to you and to Gavin Newsom and to everybody is, including everyone on the House floor, thanks to Representative Luna, and including Nancy Mace, etc., is that the blood is on our hands. That our words that criticizing Charlie Kirk, and holding him to account for the things that he has said, which were vitriolic, which were bigoted, which were
yeah,
sexist, which were damaging and incendiary, that my words, your words, Gavin Newsom's words, anyone's words criticizing him, which, by the way, is what we should be doing. We should be using our words when we disagree. This is not the kind of thing that should be settled with at the end of a gun. That our words, our civil discourse, has caused someone to murder him. And I take great exception to that. First of all, I did not and have never put out anything where I cheered for or espoused the virtues of any
nope,
kind of extrajudicial killing of any kind. To the contrary, my very first thought as I was waiting to pick up my son from high school was, I honest to God hope he is okay for our country, for his family, for himself, for those kids that were there
yeah,
that day, for that young gentleman who asked him a question. Um, but I will not accept the people who have emboldened, embraced, empowered, encouraged the threats of political violence over and over and over again, from everything from lock her up to don't be too nice to
yep,
January 6th to Donald Trump saying that Mike Pence should be hung, to the pardoning
yep,
of violent criminals who beat up friends of ours, people we care about, who were protecting the people in that building. I will not accept them telling me that my civil discourse criticizing someone like Charlie Kirk means that I was encouraging or inciting or asking for his murder. Bullshit. I will
yeah,
not accept that. It hurts my heart because that's not who I am. That's not
hmm,
what I want for anyone in this country. I'm going to have a Substack coming out after this. So that's that gaslighting I will not accept. And everyone that I've seen that I know, your heart, my friend Joglina, today I talked to Rachel Vindman, Sam Schwartz, and Joel Rubin. Everyone I know in this space that I care about has said something to that effect.
yeah,
Nobody that I know has been like, "Yeah, this is awesome." I've gotten a lot of replies that break my heart.
hmm,
I tweeted about his kids, and I was very disappointed by the replies that I got. But that's not what's in my heart, and I won't accept people telling me, "You did this. I didn't do this. I don't want this." And by the way, I also don't want these kinds of weapons to be so easily and readily available. I don't want that either.
Isn't it ironic though that one of the last quotes that kind of is aging like gas station sushi in the sun. One of those quotes from Charlie Kirk has everything to do with keeping, and it was like he says gun deaths unfortunately are worth it to keep the Second Amendment. And that, you couldn't possibly think of a worse uh a more poorly aging comment that somebody could make, and I'm not trying to say that to be funny. I'm just being serious. I have an issue with the right wing media and politicians not being held to account for their intensified rhetoric. Their rhetoric, instead of trying to tamp things down,
Mhm.
they're ramping it up. I posted a tweet earlier this morning about Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters
Mhm.
last night essentially said that we are at war.
Yeah.
Like, how do you take this act that, again, we don't know who killed him or
Mhm.
what their motivation was or anything. All we know is that he was killed. But you're already saying, he says they're at war with us. What are we going to do about it? He
Yeah.
asked his brainwashed viewers, and then later on last night, Donald Trump gets on the horn and basically amplifies that message to the thousandth degree. And this is not what a president does.
Mm-mm.
President Obama spoke after um what I can't remember.
Sandy Hook.
The no, no, yeah, he did. Boy, he spoke after a lot of shootings, but the
Mhm.
one I'm thinking about was the church in South
Oh,
Carolina, Dylan
yes.
Roof, that
Mhm.
shooting.
Yes.
So he reminded America that um that the families of the victims who were killed by Dylan Roof prayed with Dylan Roof in the courtroom.
That's right.
So it's like it was almost like he's sending a message to America to say, "Hey, look, we're hurting right now, but it is
Mhm.
up to us to hold this democracy and to not let this, get out of hand." And President Biden did the same thing after Donald Trump's assassination attempt in Butler. I'm sorry to do the air quotes, but I have to. I don't
No,
believe
no,
that.
no. Look, well, I just want to say this as a sidebar. What we saw, what I wish I'd never seen yesterday, was what a rifle can do to the
Yep.
human body. And do with that what you will, but he doesn't have a scratch. This Donald Trump. So, and that was an AR-15 in Donald Trump's case. This was, I don't
Yeah.
know guns. This was some other kind of rifle with a scope. I don't know anything about guns. I'm not going to lie. I don't know anything about guns.
You, they said they found
Yeah.
his gun and ammo, right?
Well, now they've retracted the ammo thing. So you saw they walked that back. Right. Well, this is where we need to be super diligent and careful
It's
because you
Cash
know this.
Patel.
Well, you know
It's
this.
Cash Patel. He's a clown.
Well, that and in the wake of these things, there's always a sea of disinformation, right? Everybody's trying to get out first. Everybody's got the scoop. Everybody knows. Everybody, blah blah blah. And everybody's trying to get out first. And what happens is tons and tons of disinformation comes out about the shooter's identity, about the shooter's motives, about the ammo was said trans things on it, and blah 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 blah. Blah. Just wait. Take a beat.
Oh, you
Take a
saw
breath.
that.
Take a minute. Yeah, and then
Share with our audience what that thing,
oh,
please.
they said that they found his ammo and that the ammo was marked with anti-fascist rhetoric and transgender something, which
Yep.
like pro-trans, which y'all, what?
Come
Um,
on. You got to be suspicious. You
right,
got to
like
be.
right, and the whole thing. Well, I'm not gonna lie either. There's a lot of reasons for people. Again, we don't have a lot of answers, and we don't have a very competent head and deputy whatever at the FBI. Bongo Bongo and Tight Pants Patel are not.
Is he still working there, Bongo Bongo?
When he's not busy crying into his, in his safe space. Yes,
I
apparently.
thought he quit.
But they fired the very competent head of the FBI in Salt Lake City. So, like,
Thank you.
we don't have a lot of really competent folks here running the show, and because this is what it is, and these are always rife with disinformation and people getting ahead of themselves. It really would behoove us to let a beat pass before we all start weighing in and taking the every shiny object that comes our way. But I want to just go back to Trump, because what he did last night, in stark contrast to what Joe Biden did when whatever happened or didn't happen up in this. Okay. What he said last night was such a departure from what it means to be a president in a time of crisis
Thank
that
you.
it broke my heart. It infuriated me. It made me sick.
Yep.
He also did not know, and still does not know, the identity and or the motive of the shooter. For all we know, it could have been somebody that Charlie Kirk, broke up with in high school. We don't know. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about them. But Donald Trump was not interested in taking a beat. He was not interested in bringing the temperature down. To literally quote Joe Biden in the wake of that, he
Yeah.
actually said those words: "We need to bring the temperature down." That's what leaders do. That's what
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom did. That's what Tim Walz did. That's what Pete Buttigieg did. That's what Wes Moore did. That's what my freaking Phil Murphy, my governor, did. That's what Mamdani and AOC did. That's
Yeah.
what competent, responsible leaders do. That is not what Kankle's McTaco Tits decided was the best course of action for him. So instead, not only did he get ahead of all of the truth and the facts and everything else, he laid blame squarely on all Democrats, on
Yeah.
all of us, and then
Yeah.
went further in saying that it's basically like what we do, what you and I do, what any liberal organization does is hate. They're hate crimes, and
Right.
that we are fostering this kind of violence. This is the guy who said, "Stand back and stand by." This is the guy who said, "Be there, it'll be wild." This is the guy
Yep.
who sent very fucking bad people who were in prison for many, many years, who let them go free. Okay?
Yep.
People who've committed violent crimes since, that his name is on, by the way.
Uh-huh.
So he went last night, and there was a giant pyre, a fire burning hot and bright and ready for explosion. And instead of trying to tamp it down, he poured gasoline right on top. And
Boom.
that is the antithesis of what a leader does. And I am sad for our country. I am angry for our country. I am heartbroken. I am devastated. This is not a reality that we should be forced to accept. But because the dumbest, most willfully self-sabotaging stupids on this planet, a plurality of them, not even a fucking majority of them, put this piece of shit back in office. And I know I should probably be calming down, but as I'm talking to you, I'm getting more upset.
Let it rip.
He did it. He made it worse. We knew he would. You knew he would, right? The
Yep.
second this happened, you knew what he'd do. We all knew what he would do, and he did it.
Well, prior to this, he had spent, if you look back at all of the press briefings he has had in 2025, he has not missed an opportunity to use the phrase radical left wing terrorists,
Mhm.
radical left wing, whatever, radical left wing ideology, and over like a mantra. And at the same time, he's always taking shots at President Biden. But specifically, he's got nothing but vitriol and hatred for the left, for
Mhm.
leftists and
Yep.
radicals and Democrats and blah, 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 over and over and over. So he's kind of conditioning. He's conditioning his supporters and people who don't know better, you know, into thinking that Democrats are like the devil. If
Mhm.
you've ever seen Jimmy Kimmel do those bits where he has somebody go out into the street and ask people, listen to this quote by President Biden, and then they'll say something like ridiculous that Trump said,
Yeah.
and they'll say, "Oh my God, that's terrible. That
Mhm.
is awful. They should impeach him." And then they'll say, "Actually, oh, I'm sorry. That was Donald Trump, and they're
Right.
like, well, he had a reason for saying that immediately, like
Yeah.
without any self-awareness whatsoever. So
Mhm.
what we need right now, in addition to our elected leaders, and specifically, I want to say Republicans, because Democrats are always 9 times out of 10. Let's say 9 times out of 10, we are sending the right message, saying all the right things, denouncing political violence, blah blah blah. It's the people on the right. It's the Republicans who have been just in this position, abdicating all responsibility, not taking responsibility, not condemning Trump for his speech last night, not condemning. There was a guy who spoke today. What's his name? Bob. Give me a second here. It was Bob Onder. Basically painting. He's from Missouri, Jefferson
Oh.
State. Yeah.
Oh.
Um, Basically painting all Democrats as evil.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
these Republicans have to, the only way to pull it back is for the other side to do some lifting too. In addition to our media, who right now our media is distracted with these breathless accounts of, oh, Charlie Kirk, he spoke to people all over the country and he was this and he was that. Not one of them talking about, the racist things that this dude has said, including
Mhm.
if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he is qualified. Or if I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence or is she there because of affirmative action? You know, eh, his derogatory comments about Martin Luther King Jr., his statements about the Civil Rights Act being a mistake.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Why is everybody giving him a pass because he was shot? I'm sorry. I have empathy for his wife and for his kids, his family, etc. I have understanding and empathy for the situation and a proper amount of outrage about political violence in general. But that doesn't mean that we give him a pass on all the shitty things that he did. And elevate him to some kind of legendary status that he doesn't deserve, getting awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? To
Yeah.
paraphrase your
Yeah.
catchphrase?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Trump gave that to Jim Jordan too, don't forget, by the way. Uh,
It's
so
worthless. It's a
right,
piece of tin now.
to Donald Trump it is. And no, I don't think that I think we can hold these two truths at the same time. I think that we can hold the truth of what Charlie Kirk did and the things that he said and how damaging and dismantling and dangerous they were and have been. And by the way, impactful on large number of young people in this country. And beyond that, right? I think we can
Yeah,
hold that truth in our hand. We can still look at the content of his character and hold in the other hand this idea that that does not mean that he deserved to be murdered for it. And you and I agree on this, right? Like
yeah,
we can do those two things at the same time. um and and that's what the right doesn't want anybody to understand. They want this binary where if you criticize someone and something happens to them, you're responsible. But because they cannot understand that we can hold these truths, that you can, because for them, they really can't. Because
yeah,
for them, he wants the violence, right? Because for them, what he did last night was essentially saying, go out and punish them for this,
yeah,
right? What I have gotten in my replies from MAGA has been, you're going to be next. You should be worried. You're only saying you care about any of this because you know they're going to come for you next. I've gotten, don't go to sleep. Make sure you lock your door. We know where you live. I've already, by the way, in my life faced multiple death threats, one of which came in the wake of Paul Pelosi's attack. That day, they sent me pictures of my house and then
Mm,
called and said they were in the car. They sounded like they were in the car and that they were
yeah.
on their way to my home. They had just sent me proof that they knew where it was and said, you were going to Paul Pelosi you next. And by the way, again, we all remember when Paul Pelosi was attacked, Donald Trump Jr., and a whole bunch of Republicans made fun of him, spread lies, including Elon Musk,
Yeah.
about what happened in that case. Donald
Mhm.
Trump Jr. had a Halloween costume joke about that. So, like, just
The
as an
hammer and
aside,
the underwear.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but here's this other thing. Like, I agree with you. Like, I don't think anyone should revise, whitewash, sane wash anything about who Charlie Kirk was or what Charlie Kirk said. But I am going to still maintain that I am actually sad by what happened. Um, and here's the thing I want to just say about that. He did say, and I remember when he said it because I was disgusted, outraged, and I wrote a whole tweet, a thread about what freedom is. Because when he said that's the cost of freedom, that gun violence deaths are the cost of freedom to have the Second Amendment in this country, my question to him was, how is that freedom? And whose child? Whose
Yeah.
whose child is expendable? Whose mother is expendable? Whose
Yeah.
best friend? Whose sister? Whose neighbor? Whose dad? Whose grandpa? Whose abuelita? Who is expendable? Right? What cost are you willing to pay? Because if
Uh-huh.
you think that this won't come for you, what every gun violence survivor has ever told me every time I've talked to them, and one of my best friends on the planet is Sam Schwartz, and Sam Schwartz lost his cousin Alex in Parkland, is that everybody always thinks it won't happen to me until it happens to them. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Statistically in this country, there is a likelihood for all of us that gets worse and worse by the day. There are more guns in this country than there are people. And the
Yep.
thing about gun violence is it doesn't give a fuck how you vote. It doesn't give a fuck what you say about pilots, about trans people. It doesn't care. It's
Yep.
going to come for you anyway. And Charlie Kirk confusing and conflating what freedom is, when freedom in this country, in a country that Charlie Kirk very much tried to cultivate, means that he can't go, in all likelihood, to a, well, he can't. He couldn't go to a college campus and have a debate with college students without losing his life. That's
Yeah.
not freedom. It is not freedom that I have to worry every time I go to the movies to make sure I know where the emergencies exits are and have a strategy. It's not freedom for me to drop my kids off at school every morning and memorize their outfits because the parents in Sandy Hook and Uvalde said that if their children were wearing something they recognized, that they couldn't identify them because there was nothing
Mm,
left of them to identify. It's not freedom to go to the doctor's office and get shot, the post office and get shot, a 4th of July parade and get shot. That's not freedom. And
yeah.
so, like, that's where I get so upset and sad because Charlie Kirk stood in the way of people like Sam, of people like Shannon Watts, people like Fred Gutenberg. He pushed back policies that people were fighting for him,
Uh-huh.
for his kids, for his
Yep.
wife, for those college kids, for that poor innocent young man who was just debating him and had to watch him get murdered in front of him. That's who people fight for. And so, like, if there's any like lesson to come out of this, and I hesitate to say that because it's a terrible loss for some people who love him, but like, please understand that it doesn't care. These guns they don't care about your politics.
Yeah.
And that quote about, this is the cost of freedom. That's not freedom. This is not this. What happened yesterday is not freedom. It's tyranny. And I refuse to accept it.
I um I was stunned after Sandy Hook. I thought that was pretty much. I thought that would have been the red line for everybody, like to watch a classroom full of poor innocent children, like those kids. I think around like 5, 4, 5, 6. I feel like that's like the cutest age. That's when they say the most adorable things, and they're still figuring out their balance, and
Yeah.
their eyes are full of their eyes are, God damn it, eyes are full of hope and wonder. And I thought that Sandy Hook would have been when America was like, all right, fuck this, let's do something. And it's only America's only gotten worse since then. It never fails to disappoint me. I saw somebody suggest earlier today that maybe we should, or maybe Democrats should propose a bill, call it the Charlie Kirk gun safety bill or something, just to see how many Republicans will vote against it,
Mhm.
and to put their sanctimonious bullshit where their mouths are. If you really cared about Charlie Kirk, and you respect what he stood for or whatever, you'll sign on to this bill. But they'll justify it and they'll say, "Oh, actually, Charlie Kirk wouldn't want us to uh to do anything to water down the Second Amendment." And it's not, nobody's trying to take your guns. We're just saying, you know what, let's have some more background checks. Let's have some red flag laws. Let's do some things that are common sense. That, look, we understand that they have this fake argument that, well, if we have more gun laws, it's not going to prevent 100% of all gun deaths. No, it's not. It's not going to completely eliminate gun violence, but it's going to cut it down significantly.
We have
Like the
statistics.
the seatbelt law. The seatbelt law doesn't save every single life, but it saves a hell of a lot more lives than were saved before we had seatbelts.
Yeah.
Same thing with people wearing helmets when they ride a bicycle. Everybody doesn't um, uh, not crack their skull when they're wearing a bicycle helmet, but a lot fewer people crack their skulls because of that. Common
Mhm.
sense. Let's do this to save more people, not to save everybody, but to save more people. What's wrong with that?
Right. So it's just common sense, and unfortunately, common sense and logic and rational thought are as useful to MAGA as a thesaurus and a cousin they can't fuck. So, like, they don't. They just this is we're not it's not apples and oranges anymore. I mean, it's apples and hand grenades. Honestly, you
Yeah.
can't have a rational conversation with them about this. Like, to your point, like a football player wears a helmet, but that doesn't mean that, they're not gonna get a concussion
Ooh,
just
good
because,
one. Good
right,
one.
they're wearing
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
helmet. But it's not about, and it's long not been about actually doing what is best, for people, for society, for our country. It's about special interests, it's about power, it's about control, it's about conflating and co-opting issues like they do with the Second Amendment, where they lie and they tell Americans that they're going to come for your guns, all
Yeah.
your guns. By the way, if we were going to be coming for your guns, if the Democrats were going to come for your guns, Joe Biden had the House, the Senate, and the Oval.
Yep.
I don't remember a whole bunch of people being, tweeting videos of them coming for their guns. That's not what anyone has suggested. But what they do is they take that issue and they can co-opt it and they conflate it and they turn it into what they love, which is to say that the Democrats are coming for your fill in the blank. They're coming for your freedom. They're coming for your job. They're coming for your way of life. They're coming for your cats and your dogs. They're coming for your daughter. They're coming for everything. They, them, those people,
Yeah.
including the Democrats who love they, them, those people. Transgender people are coming for your daughter's softball team. No, they're not, but they're still doing it, and they're doing that with this issue too. But again, what drives me crazy is that what they just don't understand until yesterday happens, and then yesterday happens, and then they conflate other issues, is that these are not partisan issues. It is not a matter of R or L next to, or R or D next to your name. Like, that's the thing that they don't understand, but they don't also care about. And it frustrates me to no end, because in a rational party, in a normal country, what happened yesterday would have made some of those folks who were walking around with AR-15 lapel pins, who wanted to make the AR-15 our national rifle, it would have made some of those folks say, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a conversation. I'm not saying, that we need to ban long guns. I don't know again enough about guns, but I think we can have a starting off point where we can have some middle ground where we can say maybe we should start having a conversation about this. But that is not the Republican Party that we have now. It's really not a party. It's really a cult of personality. And what they did instead with what happened yesterday was they are using it as a weapon, as a tool to further divide, to stoke more fires, to stoke more hate, to pit us against each other more and more. And what that's going to do, what we have seen it already do, is it's going to take this tinderbox and it's going to make it even more volatile. And I have to say the last thing I'm going to say is they do need the chaos. Trump needs the chaos. Steve Bannon needs the chaos. Stephen Miller needs the chaos. They need the chaos because they can't govern. And by the way, yes, it is the fucking guns. I will say this last thing. They say it's the pot, it's the porn, it's the antidepressants. It
Doors.
was COVID. It was doors. It was too many doors, too few doors, too many locks on doors. Like, no, it's the guns. Okay.
Yep.
Every other country on the planet has pot, has porn, has mental illness, has video games, had COVID, has doors with locks, doors with no locks. Every other country on the planet has antidepressants. They all have these things. What
Yep.
they don't have is a country perpetually primed for war. They don't have a country with more guns than people, and they don't have one party, one of the main parties in this country, perpetually telling them that guns equal freedom, because that's not true. So I'll just say that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is the guns. It is the guns.
Um, I wanted to shift gears a little bit. I'm wondering if you have seen uh, the 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 thing about Irina Zarutska.
Yeah, I've seen some of it. Yeah.
All right,
I haven't
let
watched
me
that video.
all right, let me break it down briefly for our viewers. If you're unfamiliar with it, you may have seen a video. It looks like the camera is looking down at a subway car, and there's a woman reading something, and there's a black man behind her, and he stands up abruptly and stabs her multiple times. It's horrifying. It's terrible video to watch, and he walks off, and she's surrounded by, I guess, four or five other passengers, and nobody does anything. And so it's like it's a horrible video for the act of violence, but then it's compounded by what appears to be, just people who don't care. Now, I don't
Mm.
know what the situation was. Was anybody paying attention? Did they know it happened very quickly? It happened fast. It was like pom pom pom. It was like the guy took 3 seconds to do his stabbing thing, and then he left. So in that small period of time, I don't think people realize. I saw video and photos later on of somebody who had taken his shirt off to try and help um compress her wounds. She died. So the right wing over the past week and a half has been doing the Sydney Sweeney dance
Yeah.
with this Irina Zaruska thing, or let's say not the Sydney Sweeney thing, the Lack and Riley dance. They've been doing that. They've been weaponizing. Irina Zaruska was a Ukrainian refugee.
Mm.
Okay. When I say refugee, if I said Mexican refugee, they would have had ICE up in there faster to deport her than
Yeah.
anything else. And they would have been like, oh, this is what I voted for. But
Right.
because she was a pretty blonde white woman who was killed by a black person,
Mm-hmm.
they are trying to weaponize that scenario into, you see, it's blacks against whites. They want a race war. When are we going to do something? The same kind of rhetoric that you hear from Jesse Waters. When are we going to do something about this? Even Trump has posted about this. So I have the first few days I saw it, I was like, nah, I'm not biting. I'm not buying into this. I'm not elevating this. But now Trump has kind of elevated it. So I'm
Mm,
not really sure if this is something that we can afford to look away from and not address,
mm,
or do we have to call this out and let more people know about it at least, because it feels like a psyop to me. It feels like
mhm.
they are trying to manipulate us into feeling like a civil war is right around the corner, right? If Americans are afraid,
Yeah.
if citizens are fearful, isn't that the the ripe environment for authoritarianism to fully take over?
1,000%. I mean, 10,000%, 1,000,000%. And that is exactly what they're doing. I mean, let's look at Washington, D.C. Okay. You and I have been to Washington, D.C. You and I we love Ebbett's Grill, like good oysters there. Great place.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right across the street, basically from the White House. Very safe
yeah,
part of town. There's lots of safe parts of town. I was in Washington, D.C. for my birthday in June with my kids. We walked from Ebbett's to our hotel, which was past the Capitol Center. And I showed them the metro station because I think that they're really cool in DC, et cetera, et
yeah,
cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
I've gone to Union Station 1,000 times. I love Union Station. It's my favorite train station. Never I ever saw anything, never worried about it. But that's not what Donald Trump wants the American people to believe.
right.
Right? So much so that he wanted them to change their crime statistics so that it would show that crime is actually horrible there, so that he could justify federalizing their police department, which in Washington, D.C., since it's not a state, thanks, Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, he can.
Yeah.
All so that he could say he can manufacture the crisis, right? It's not safe. It's not safe. Chicago's not safe. You can't go anywhere. And then he federalizes the police department. And then he says, I've made it so safe that you can go out to eat. And I'm going to prove it to you by getting in this armored car surrounded by armored cars and Secret Service up wazoo. And right, I'm going to prove it to you by walking literally 3 feet, dragging my leg 3 feet
Yeah.
into a
Uh-huh.
restaurant. Right. I'm going to prove to you how safe it is because of me. But the fear part, it's all part and parcel. I think of it as like an octopus, but with like even more legs because it's all part of the same beast. Because if you're afraid, then they can seize more power. And if you're afraid, then they can tell you that only they can help you. And if you're afraid, maybe you won't go to that protest, and maybe you won't show up at the polling place, and
Mhm.
maybe you won't go knock the doors. And yeah,
Yeah.
if you're afraid, all of those things. But if you're afraid, you're also probably not that dialed in to all the other crazy corrupt shit they're doing, like their meme coins and their blatant, like emoluments clause violations and their human rights violations and all the other shit. So, because you're busy over here being scared. So that is all part of the playbook. I mean, it is what authoritarians do. You don't have to look very far, right? Like, look at the Holocaust. That is exactly what Hitler did, and dehumanizing people at the same time. The way that they talk about migrants, the way that they talk about undocumented people is dehumanizing. The way that they treat them. There was a pregnant woman, American citizen in Van Nuys, California. California, by the way, that the Supreme Court just decided all states can racially profile you. Dude,
Disgusting.
yeah,
Ugh.
they could see you walking down the street and say, you know what? He's dark complected. He looks suspicious. If you're hanging outside a Home Depot with your complexion, they could literally arrest you and ask
Yeah.
questions later. The Supreme Court said that, taking all these things into consideration, there is a probability that this person is here illegally, which is
Insane.
insane.
I
Yeah,
don't know
there's a
how there's
pregnant
not a
woman on the
bigger
ground.
I don't know how people aren't making a bigger deal out of
I
that. I
I
mean,
don't
what
I
the
consider
fuck?
I had Senator Padilla on yesterday and Senator Whitehouse on yesterday to talk about this very thing because no one is talking about it. No
Yeah.
one is talking about it. It's not settled, by the way. That's where the American people need to know that they need to start getting on the phone. They're still going in court. It was just that they lifted a stay. But
Hang on.
yeah,
You said it's not settled. So once um once something gets ruled on in the Supreme Court, they don't have the final say?
they didn't rule on the case. They ruled on the stay. So if a
Oh,
district court judge there was one who put the stay on who said you can't racially profile, and then another district court judge said somebody took that to the Supreme Court, the stay, and said, well, they can't do that. We're not going to be able to do our whatever illegal stuff we do. And so that went to the Supreme Court, the stay itself. The case itself is still unresolved. So what the Supreme Court said was the stay in the midst of this court not being resolved is unconstitutional. So they lifted the stay, meaning that the ICE could go back to profiling. But the case itself is still underway and still not settled. So that's what I mean about the American people need to get loud about this. It's not going to have any impact on the judge necessarily, but it might have an impact on their elected officials, bringing this to attention so that
yeah.
people understand the implications of this nationwide. So that's the part that's not settled. But yes, if it goes to the Supreme Court and they rule on it, then it is settled. There's unfortunately.
Thank you for explaining that to me, Mom. You did that perfectly.
Well, I don't know that I did, but the whole thing about it is insane, and like this is all part of that fear too, right? So if people are seeing a pregnant woman and two guys dragged out of a car in Van Nuys and shoved down to the ground with guns at their heads, right?
Yeah,
And one of them was an American citizen, by the way. The woman was an American citizen. I don't know what that would do to me if I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to go outside. I don't know if I want to go partake in, this American experience. I don't know that I want to go to work. I don't know that I want to go anything, vote,
yeah.
whatever it is. That's the goal. And they can seize more and more power that way.
I like to think if I were in that situation, I would whip my phone out immediately and start yelling at them, say, "Hey, motherfucker, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
You know,
Somebody
um,
did. Somebody
take
did.
your mask off. What I love about America, right? Because we are kind of screwed right now. We are, but we're not completely cooked. I see people every day in these videos coming out. Sometimes it's a whole community, it's a whole block that will come and swarm ICE and say, "Get the fuck
Oh,
out
yeah.
of here." And they back up. And I love that. I love the fact that despite the fact that it looks like Trump is kind of like racking up all these wins, whatever, that we still have people filing lawsuits and beating his ass in the courts a lot, quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Here's
Right.
my question for you, and it's about the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
When President Biden was in office and he had, the House and the Senate and the blah, 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 there was a big discussion on whether or not he should pack the court, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I was at first in favor of packing the court, but then I fast forwarded like 15, 20 years when there's like a super corrupt president. Go figure. I didn't have to fast forward 20
Yeah.
years. Um, but so then I was worried, like, does it become an arms race? And now we've got like 30 justices in the
Mm-hmm.
court or whatever. So do you think we should, if and when we get control again, we should either pack the court or institute some kind of limit on how long a Supreme Court justice can remain on the bench? Like put like a 12-year limit as opposed to lifetime.
Yeah. I think there are so Congress has oversight over the Supreme Court, right? But I think the president of the United States does have the authority. I don't think they have the authority to impose term limits, but I do believe, if I'm correct, and if anybody can correct me in the chat, I do believe the president of the United States has the authority to add Supreme Court seats, and there are arguments to be made for the president of the United States having as many Supreme Court seats as there are circuit courts, which I believe there are 11. Are there 11 circuit courts, or am I making that up?
That sounds right.
Or there are
Yeah.
13. Uh, yeah.
I don't think there's any limit in the Constitution to how many
How many?
Supreme Court justices you can have. I think
Right.
you can go as high as you
13.
want.
It is 13, right.
It
13
is 13.
13
Okay.
circuits, right. And I yeah, it is a deeply flawed institution. It is no longer a check on any overreaches of
On anything.
executive power, and it has
Yeah.
become a political judicial arm of the executive. Well, a Donald Trump Supreme Court has. But no, I mean, I think that there's an argument to be made for that. Again, I'm not that well versed. Once upon a time, I knew more about this when the question was more relevant and Joe Biden was at the helm. But I do believe it requires an act of Congress to do anything imposing, in terms of imposing term limits or sort of regulations on the justices themselves. But I think it's a good idea for a lot of reasons. I think that it would hopefully stop it from being so political, so overtly political, and it wouldn't. Well, that there's an argument to be made on all sides of that, right? Yeah,
Wait,
Congress would have to approve.
what's a good idea? Term limits or
Well,
packing the court?
I think term limits would be an excellent idea. I mean, I think that that would be a wonderful idea because, again, you wouldn't have, justices that could do what Clarence Thomas and Alito have done, which is basically turn this thing into a cash cow where they get to
Yeah.
go, and I think, well, I'll also say this. I think that the Senate needs to go back and actually have some oversight when it comes to this court that they have abandoned. And I'm looking at Dick Durbin because I believe it's, yeah, I'm really being tested now on my knowledge, but I believe it's the Judiciary Committee in particular. And Dick Durbin has done dick shit, diddly squat. And he's also leaving. So bye, Dick Durbin.
Yeah.
But I think the court obviously needs reform. I mean, again, it's also very unique to American government that we have a Supreme Court with no term limits that can be politicized in this way. And yeah, Mitch
Yeah.
McConnell, by the way, original sin here, 1000% the evil turtle. Because if you
Oh,
remember,
denying of Obama's pick, right?
right, it was Merrick Garland, as a matter of fact. And so,
Yeah.
like, let's just paint this magical picture of where Mitch McConnell doesn't get to do that, or doesn't do that, and we end up with Supreme Court Justice Merrick Garland, not Attorney General Merrick Garland, and then you have a Donald Trump who actually faces some accountability because Attorney General Sally Yates is like,
Oh,
let's
yes.
fucking go. It's time to pay up, bitch. We're not going to drag our feet on this. But also, you don't have Amy Coney Barrett, who Mitch McConnell
Yeah.
snuck in there in an election year, which was what he said you couldn't do when it came to Merrick Garland. And the last thing I'll say about Mitch McConnell, who is, again, this motherfucking evil turtle who's got his little crappy hands and everything. Mitch McConnell, if he had whipped his senators, which he could have and should have, but he didn't, on the impeachment and trial of Donald Trump after January 6th, he had seven senators, or did he have five? I forget. He had at least five Republican senators on board to vote to convict. And he went up there and he said, I'm going to kick this can down the road. He is responsible for everything that happened, but I'm going to leave this up to the courts. And then what did the courts say? This is not up to us. And then what happened? We got Donald Trump. So fuck you, Mitch McConnell. Fuck you, Hunter.
Who's our Mitch McConnell? Who
What?
is the Democrats? Who is the Democrats' Mitch McConnell? Who is our enforcer? Who is our ruthless son of a bitch who doesn't give a damn? Do we have one of those?
Congressionally? No.
Yeah.
No. But we have Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. We don't. I mean, I wish we did, but we don't.
I'd like somebody who is crafty, who knows how to use whatever antiquated, uh,
Shameless.
maneuvers.
Mhm.
What?
Somebody who's shameless.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, Schumer did something. He forced the Epstein thing to the floor yesterday, which was, against Senate protocol. But like, overall, the problem is that it's that shameless thing. Like, that's where Mitch McConnell, like,
Yeah,
he's literally evil, and he knows.
because that's where we need to be, Joe. I think that's like
Yeah.
the ruthlessness is what we are we have been lacking. The shamelessness. You know, it is time to to shift into that gear, to fight fire with fire. Like for instance, you did mention Gavin Newsom. I love love what he has done with the flipping the script on Trump and his stupid memes and whatever. That's cute, right? Um, I like what JB Pritzker has done with his, visceral kind of getting in your face and saying, no, you can't come to our city, and taking a stand, stealing his spine. But procedurally in Congress, that's where that's where the maneuvers need to be done. That's where Mitch McConnell changed fucking history.
Oh, yeah.
He changed history by shamelessly denying Obama's uh, uh, Supreme Court pick and then
Mhm.
turning around and saying, actually, on second thought, we can do it and we're going to.
Yeah. 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 Well, yes,
We
and
need one of those. We need one of those in Congress.
we yeah, I'm trying to think, like, we've got a lot of w
The
who was it?
closest I can think of is I know Adam Schiff kind of gets under Trump's skin quite a bit. He constantly attacks him for whatever reason. Um,
Yeah, I mean, Moskowitz and Swalwell and Crockett and Goldman, we have a lot of, and Raskin,
Jamie
Raskin,
Raskin,
I mean,
yeah,
of all of them, Raskin knows the game better than anybody. I mean, he's a constitutional expert scholar, right? But I think I think unfortunately, when you are suffering from a deficiency of shamelessness.
wait. Let me interrupt you for a second. Here again, one of our viewers here says, Dog Chapman says, "Why don't you debate someone, Jojo, if you're so smart?" Actually, she is so smart, and she doesn't have to debate anybody if she don't feel like it.
I
Stupid.
if I'm so smart, if I'm so
He
smart,
came on this. He
I
came
don't
on this
even like.
thing.
I don't know. I don't need to put my dick on the table all the time, little dude. Do you? Like, I just have some shit to say. So if you don't like it, by the way, I'm sure that there's a bottle of Lubriderm in mommy's basement with your name on it, and some pictures of
Boom!
your sister that you could go enjoy. So you don't have to be here. Nobody has to
Klingons!
be here. Anyway, yeah. I sidebar. Um, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. So I think one thing I will say, unfortunately, is that we suffer from a deficiency of shamelessness. But we've also sort of come up against congressionally these walls where they're like, oh, there's just nothing more we can do. Like, they can be obstructionists, but not fully. I mean, they've been obstructionists on a lot of the judicial picks, et cetera. But again, that's where I go back to the states. That's where I go back to the governors. That's where I go back to Gavin Newsom, Wes Moore, J.B. Pritzker, Kathy Hochul. They are doing that right now, right? So because they have a lot more latitude, they have a lot more room, they have a lot more power, they have a lot more tools in their toolboxes, so that they can actually meet the fire with fire. And that is what they are doing. Gavin Newsom is leading the way, and what they're doing in particular, is letting the constituents decide if they want to fight this fight the way that Gavin Newsom wants to fight this fight. Gavin Newsom is saying on November 4th, people of California, it's called Proposition 50. We were supposed to have
Right.
our live event last night. I was paired with Senator Padilla, but we are going to postpone it until the 16th to
Mm,
fundraising and raise awareness. But Prop 50 on November 4th is going before the people of California. It's unusual for them to have a proposition in a midterm, from what I understand, or whatever propositioning off here. I guess that's what the word is there. Um, but that is for the people of California to decide if indeed they want to go with these temporary redrawn maps in the state of California, so that they can reclaim for the country, by the way, the 5 seats that Texas has likely redrawn out of Democratic control in their state. So
Is that
wait,
September 16th, you said?
sorry, we have some nasty trolls in our chat today. I don't know how they got here, but we'll take care of that for next time. But that is November 4th. Yeah, November 4th is the Proposition 50 on the ballot. Yeah, so he can reclaim we can reclaim those seats that the Republicans are trying to gerrymander out of Democratic control because they know they're going to lose.
Yeah.
So I would say that what those governors are doing, though, J.B. Pritzker lining up those ice spreading trucks and saying, "I dare you, come into my city, you motherfucker." Kathy Hochul saying it's not off the table. Wes Moore saying it's not off the table for us to revisit our maps. This is a little bit of that kind of spirit that you're talking about. So I got to
Mhm.
give it to them. And yeah, Missouri's getting 1 seat, but yeah, Missouri, Florida, Ohio, etc. It's a race. It is a race to the bottom in many ways, but nobody. Well, the Republicans have certainly not taken any opportunity they had to get rid of gerrymandering. So this is where we are. But yeah, I just wanted to say that that on that level, I think congressionally they're kind of at their limit as to what they can do for the most part, which is a bummer. But we just don't have the numbers, and that's why the Republicans are so dead set against us reclaiming the House because they know once that happens, it's all bets are off.
Let me ask you one more question before we try to squeeze Trump or crazy person in,
Okay.
because I'm fascinated by your opinions on these things. Um, should Democrats shut down the government
Well,
or keep it open?
I mean, I think it's an interesting framing of the question because the Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the presidency. So it's like, I want to frame that as, Republicans shutting down the government because the Republicans are the ones who should be owning any shutdown that comes our way.
Right.
So like reframing it that way, I would land this in their laps. I don't think that the Democrats should be playing ball with the Republicans if whatever it requires. But a government shutdown is good for no one.
Right.
It's so, I mean, I don't, I, well, yeah, I mean, everybody's saying shut it down, but again, if it shuts down, I want to make sure that the Republican Party owns it.
Get
That's
the
where
blame for it.
it
Yeah.
has to, that's where we have to be really careful because they're already out there saying if the government shuts down, it's the Democrats' fault. And ahead of a midterms where they're all looking for distractions from all the distractions is a distraction from a distraction from a distraction, including Epstein. I
Right.
don't want to give them more room for distraction. So
See, I
if
remember
they're
when
just
Nancy
don't own it.
Pelosi, I remember when Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House and she had a very slim majority. She did not shut down the House, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if the House is to shut down and the Republicans are in the majority, wouldn't they need Democrats to go along with them in order to shut it down, or can they shut it down by themselves?
No, I think they need Democrats, right, guys? They need Democrats. I think that their margins are so small. It's like very, very, very slim margins. I do think that they need Democrats to go along with, but I think if the Democrats, yeah,
That's why I framed the question like
yeah,
that, because they can't really shut it down by themselves with such a slim.
no,
um
but that's why the Democrats got to get something out of any kind of arrangements that they make. You know what I mean?
right.
I don't want to give them an opportunity to pin this on our party. I really,
Yeah.
that's what I want to make sure that we're careful about. So, there's lots of concessions that they can make of the Republicans. I'm looking at you. Yeah. So that's what I would like to see. I want to see the Democrats, being like, all right, here's what we want, and let's see what happens.
Indeed. All right, so thank you, Joe. You are very smart. Yeah, and I appreciate that the fact that you share your opinions on stuff so willingly, and the fact that you put yourself out there despite uh, clownish trolls trying their best to show that that they're more than just a little shithead in their mother's basement.
Mhm.
Last week, folks, we had a game, and the name of the game was damn, what was that guessing game? It was, oh, distraction. It was
Oh yeah.
distraction or real. And Joe had to answer whether or not something was a distraction from the Epstein files or if it was something real that had nothing to do with Trump's influence. And as a result, one of our winners um, got an autographed copy of The Bigliest Loser from
What a
yours
great prize.
truly. And the other winner, I don't know so that was congratulations to you, Dottie. And the other winner, I don't remember what their name was, but she didn't send her information. So
I
this
didn't
week
see it.
we're doing another one. Same deal. Joe, if you answer 4 through 6 correctly, either as little as 4 correctly, some lucky viewer will get a copy of The Bigliest Loser, unless, of course, it's that jackass and you get shit.
Oh, there's Dottie. There's Dorothy in the chat, by the way, the book recipient.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Um, and 7 through 10, then they get one of those cool siren mugs. Okay. So the name of this game is Trump or Crazy Person. And so Joe, I'm going to show her some statements that have been made, and she has to guess whether or not it was Trump or a crazy person who said it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
First one: fish, bucket, boomerang, Sasquatch, dungarees.
It sounds like they're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I'm going to go crazy person.
And so the answer is crazy person.
Ding,
Boom.
ding, 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 ding.
Okay. Here's the next one. We've taken in almost 17 trillion of investments is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs.
That would be the crazy person is Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's Trump.
Mm-hmm.
That's two. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
That's not my signature.
That is definitely Tiny Hands Trump.
Correct.
Yeah, because we're all stupid. Yeah.
Okay, this one's tough. All right.
Okay. Oh.
My golf swings are not just sports, they are acts of national defense, protecting America from the forces of chaos. Each ball I hit is a missile of freedom, and every hole in one is a victory for humanity.
Well, it is way too articulate for Donald Trump, so I'm going to go crazy person.
Correct. So that right now is 4. So one lucky viewer is getting a copy of The Bigliest Loser. Joe, would you do us the honor and please pick a lucky viewer from our scrolling feed here?
I'm scrolling, and I'm trying not to look, but I'm scrolling. Okay. Julie Airoldi. Julie Airoldi. Julie Airoldi.
Okay, Julie, make sure you are subscribed to JoJo and make sure you contact her through what is it, DMs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
With your shipping information, please. And thank you. All
Thank
right, you
you
ready
very
for the
much.
next one?
Yay! She said yay. Yay!
You ready for the next one?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Windmills cause cancer. It's a fact. The blades chop up the air and it gives you cancer. Look it up.
That one's tricky. Because, yeah, I think Trump said that. All right.
And you are correct, ma'am.
But, like, I'm
Yes.
not, did he say that verbatim? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, verbatim.
Okay.
These are actual quotes.
Oh, my God.
Well, some of them are.
Okay.
My hands are not small. They are the hands of a god capable of reshaping the world with a single gesture. Every finger is a beacon of hope, and my touch can turn lead into gold, poverty into prosperity.
I think that's what Matt Schlapp said to that young staffer he groped, but I definitely know it's not Donald Trump.
So that is a crazy person indeed. Again, for one, it's too articulate. Two, it said poverty into prosperity. We know he doesn't care about no poverty, right?
Mm-mm. No, 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 no.
Here's the next one.
Right.
If we didn't have elections, we wouldn't have all this winning. Maybe we should try it.
Yes, that is 1000% the melon-hued Messiah himself, Donald. Mm,
Boom.
boom.
So that's number seven.
Yay!
So that means a lucky viewer now gets a siren mug
Okay. Hmm.
and excuse me, siren and also a copy of the Bigliest Lizard.
Okay. Here we go. I'm
So
trying. Okay. Trying not to look, but like looking at the same time. Okay. It's hard. And I gotta pee. Okay. Oh shit. Wait. Oh, oh, oh. Wait. Sorry. Sorry, friends. Okay. Okay. I got it. M. Ooh, write this down. M-N-A-Kel. Kel.
wait, what?
M-N-A-K-L-O-O-N. Nickeloon.
Is that
Hold
the
on.
first name or last
People
name?
could really fuck with me on this, by the way. They could be like, my name is Harry Beaver. My name, like that. Honest to God, it would be a very funny thing for people to do. Like, oh, I'm Ben Dover. Ben Dover, you've won. No. Oh, and your cousin Eileen too. Yeah, they could really. No,
Wait, is that the first name or last name?
it's the name. It's little
It's
M.
like Cher,
Yeah,
like
it's their
Fabio.
it's their account name. It's and I kind of really have to pee. Oh my God, this is my pee dance, friends. M. So M as in marshmallow.
Mnakloon.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
Ma-
make sure they send you their
oh,
info as well. Yeah?
look, there they are. Yeah. Hi, congrats. That's it right there. And is it D-N? Wait. Let me hold on. Let me make sure I have it right. Yes, M-N-A-K-L-O-O-N. Okay.
All right.
I
So
should get my glasses.
we have three more. You are on the verge of going a perfect 10 of 10,
Okay.
which I don't think has ever been done on any Brooklyn Dad guessing game.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
The moon landing was fake, but I would have made it real. NASA should have called me.
It is not it is not one of the lines from Revenge of the Nerds when they're in the bounce house. It is not also Donald Trump. It is a crazy person.
Ooh. I'm so sorry. That is crazy, but it is.
What? I need to go back to bed. What?
Excuse me. I
Okay.
can't make these things up. I can't. They're insane.
Well,
I actually, so you know what I did? I asked Grok to give me a list
oh.
of his craziest comments here.
Oh my
Here's the
God.
next one. The
Okay.
Epstein files are a Democrat hoax made up by Comey and Obama.
Trump.
Correctamundo.
Okay.
And last but not least, I am the chosen one.
That's also Trump. That is also 1000% Donald Trump. Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
So well done, Joe. You got 9 out of 10. Big up to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. And congratulations to our winners, Julie and McClune. And yes, and congratulations on your copies of The Biggest Loser.
It's a
I
really fun, by the way, it's a really fun book. The animations, the illustrations are gorgeous,
It's amazing.
if I do say so myself.
It is
Um,
absolutely amazing. Yes,
yeah.
I agree 1000%. And they are that. Then this is a delightful mug, by the way. Well, also for McClune, it's solid and it holds liquids. Pretty
Does it hold MAGA tears?
mm, Oh, it loves Magateers. That's its favorite liquid of all. Yeah, uh-huh. Mhm. It doesn't hold many more because its drinker has to pee. So, in that yeah, I probably shouldn't be drinking any more Magateers at the moment because I have to go to the bathroom.
Can I share one crazy thing with you?
Yeah,
Um, so almost let's see, it's 2025. So almost 20 years ago, I read a book called by Dean Koontz. Have you heard of him?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Dean Koontz, it was called False Memory, right?
uh-huh.
And this book was basically about people who got had these crazy this one woman who had this condition that anything she looked at, she saw it as a weapon. If she looked at a glass, a drinking glass, for instance, she imagined breaking it and using the shards to kill somebody, or, piece of paper, anything was like a weapon in her mind. So she went to see the psychiatrist, right? And the psychiatrist was a sick motherfucker. Um, he was using hypnosis,
Mm,
okay, to
mhm.
treat his patients. But when he used hypnosis, he was planting a post hypnotic suggestion so that if he called them and said French fries, they would, they would do something.
Uh-huh.
And what we learned in that book was this dude was programming Manchurian candidates, basically, was
Oh,
programming people. So if he was contacted by someone in the government who needed a distraction, he would call up one of his plants and say, applesauce, and they would go and do a mass shooting.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So ever since I read that book, my mind has been messed up.
yeah,
My
I
mind
hear you.
has been
I
messed
hear
up.
you. You
I see
I
you
hear
doing
you.
the dance, so I'm not going to prolong this anymore. Thank
No,
you for letting me share that
the chat
with
has
you.
been hysterical. They're like, "She's gonna go pee. She's gonna go pee. Let her go pee." I'm so sorry. Well, after you have kids, it all bets are off. Where it's like it doesn't. It just has a schedule of its own. It's like yeah. So I am gonna run. I literally am gonna run. I love you guys. I love you, Brooklyn. We have 1,900 people here. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
the 1,900 people watching me do the pee-pee dance. That is fun. That is so fun. Okay, well, thank you everybody and yeah, and stay safe out there guys, for real. For real, okay? And
Love
and
you
and
guys.
yeah, love you. I go, "Bye."